So, jumping to the presentation, I hope everyone is able to see my screen now. So, just about the webinar logistics. So, as I said, this session will be recorded, and we'll be sharing with you the slide deck and the recording with you after the session. Questions can be raised at any time. So if you have any question, just unmute yourself and raise the question. I'll try my best to answer everyone. Also, normally, generally, everyone will be muted, and we cannot unmute you. So if you have a question, you need to unmute yourself and then raise the question. So if you are okay, let's move on to the agenda. So we'll be doing a bit of introduction about myself and about Nexell. We'll be looking about what the problem that dynamic forms will be solving, what is actually dynamic forms and dynamic actions, some common use cases, and a small hands-on project so you can see this new feature in practice. And also I'll be sharing some resources that you can use to do an extra mile and research a bit more about this feature that is being coming in the next releases generally available. So coming to the intro session, so a bit about myself. So I'm Daniel Darunha. I'm a project manager, professional certified. I'm working with IT since more than 20 years now. More than that, I'm a Salesforce enthusiast and evangelist. So that means that I'm really passionate about Salesforce and I love working with it. I'm also a Trailhead Ranger. So I would suggest that if you want to learn more about Salesforce, if you want to become an expert in Salesforce, Trailhead is the first place to go. I'm also a bachelor in business administration, and I'm also a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. And about that, you don't need to be worried. If you answer the survey that we'll be sending to you after the session, this should not be a problem. If you want to follow me in LinkedIn, this is my URL directly to my profile, and I'll be happy to accepting you. So a little bit about Nexell. So we are a Salesforce partner since almost 20 years now, and we are the first Salesforce certified partner in the entire Europe, actually. And I just want to say that we are a local team. We are all based in Switzerland, and we decided also to do one thing right. So one thing exceptionally well. So that means we only work with Salesforce, and we do not work with any other CRM or ERP system. We are focused completely in Salesforce. Just moving on, then what is the problem that dynamic forms will be solving? So basically, we have some kind of, Salesforce is very flexible, but sometimes we are a bit limited somehow. So to have personalized experiences. So that means that nowadays we have the concept of a page layout, and inside the page layout, we define all the fields that will be showing in the page, in the screen. And sometimes we cannot just move fields in the page in different ways to provide a better user experience for the system. And that means that we have now a monolithic block, and this monolithic block is the page layout with all fields, and this becomes one single component in the record page, and we cannot, without the dynamic forms, we cannot just break the page layout in different pieces. And to do that nowadays, without the dynamic forms, we really need either multiple, let's say, record types with different page layouts, but this does not solve the monolithic block. And if we really need to break this big monolithic block, we need to do some custom code. And these will be all solved using the dynamic forms. So then actually, what is a dynamic form in action? This will be enabling a more user-centric and intuitive screen layouts. So that means we can move fields around the screen. We can create rules for certain fields to show in a certain situations, and the same for the actions. So let's say that you have a bundle of buttons and actions on your page, and you just want these actions to be shown in a certain situation or for certain profiles. So basically, this is what dynamic forms and actions are. So we have here some common use cases, and let's say you want to show a particular session on the screen when fields has a certain value. So for example, let's say that you have a certain group of fields that you just want to show when the record has a certain stage. For example, imagine, for example, the opportunity object, and just a disclaimer here, for now the dynamic forms only work on custom objects. But just for a matter of an example, imagine an opportunity, and let's say that you have 50 fields in it, but certain fields are only relevant when you are on a certain stage of the opportunity, and that can be done with dynamic forms. Another common use case is, for example, making fields read-only on certain conditions. So let's say, for example, that, just again coming back to the example of an opportunity, but let's say that when an opportunity gets closed won, you don't want anymore the fields to be updated. So before, without the dynamic forms, you would need at least one more record type and one more page layout. And in this new page layout, you will just set all the fields to read-only. And on top of that, you would need an automation that when an opportunity stage gets closed won, the record type changes to this new record type with all fields read-only. So it's not very complex to build, but it's complex to maintain, because every time you have a new field, you need to update in two different page layouts. And now we can do everything just with the dynamic forms. And also displaying relevant actions depending on the record status and the profile or in a certain condition. So imagine that you have a record that demands for an approval. And then you have a button there saying submit for approval, but you don't want that button to be visible if the record is already approved. So now we can decide which actions will be shown to the user based on specific conditions. So these are three common use cases. I don't know, maybe if you have any question, let me just move around here the meeting to my other screen so I can see if you guys have any question. So just coming back to presentation. I don't know. Yeah, so it looks like nobody has any question. So let's move on. So moving on, I would like to go through a hands-on project with you, so you will be able to see how it's being done in practice. So here is the scenario. So for this project, we will be using two custom objects, projects and time tracks. And here on this, the right side here, you can see how they are connected. So we have a master detail relationship in the time track to connect the projects. And basically that means that every time track that we have in the system must have a project. And since this is a master detail kind of relationship, we can summarize on the project level, for example, the total amount of time tracks done for a specific project. We have also two different profiles in this use case. So one profile will be the project manager that can edit, approve projects, and manage time tracks. And the second profile would be the project consultant. And the project consultant will be able to edit projects and as well manage time tracks, but the consultant will not be able to approve projects. Users, I created already in this environment two different users. One is Sabrina Sato, which will be the project manager, and we have Dwayne Johnson, the Rock, which will be the project consultant. All clear up to now? Okay, no questions. Let's move on. So then we have here the requirements. So the first requirement is that the action, which is a button called project approval, will only be visible for the project managers, in this case, Sabrina. So now I'll switch to my environment here in Salesforce, and I just want to show you the project object and a project example that I created here. So as you can see now, we have all the fields in the page layout, and this is the monolithic block that I was saying before, because of course this is the detail and we have here only one component, and we cannot break down the fields in different places in this area of the screen. And yeah, so basically here we have also already the action called project approval, which is just an update action. And when we click on it, the system will already set the checkbox project approved to true, and also it will include the today's date as default. And for now, this action here is being shown to everyone, since we have only one page layout, right? So then the first thing we need to do is to activate the dynamic actions in dynamic forms. So I'll go to the setup. And here I can just search for record. And here in the user interface, we have record page settings. If you go into this area, we can activate the dynamic forms. I already activated it in this case. Since this is activated, moving back to the record, we can just go here to edit the page. And when we do that, we can immediately see that now it's available also another tab here on the right side called Fields. Let's just give a second to load. And for now, this component here, it's the record detail, the monolithic block that, of course, I can move it around, but I just can move all the fields together. And this is what we are going to change. So here we have an option to upgrade from the standard page layout to the dynamic forms. So I'll just click upgrade. When I do that, Salesforce gets all the fields from the page layouts and creates for me different sections. So we have here one field section called information, that it's 2 columns. And down here, we have another section called additional fields, which we have now created by and last modified by. And basically this component here is an accordion component, so that we have 2 different sections, fields and additional fields. And inside each option for the accordion, then we have another component called field section with every individual field set here, okay? And when I click here in the highlight panel, we see as well that now we do not have the actions being displayed as a dynamic. So all the actions here are coming automatically from the page layout. So what I'm going to do is I will enable dynamic actions. And when I do that, no actions are displayed, but I would like to display the action called project approval. In the project approval, I want to set a visibility filter. And the filter would be based on the current user. Oops, not here. In the record field, no, in the advanced field, and then we go to the current user, and then I go to the profile, and then I go to the profile name, so that my filter will be that the profile name must be equal to project manager. But since I'm doing that, I want also the system administrator to see that one. So I'll do the same here. Oops. I go to user. And then I go to profile. And then I go to profile name. And the profile name equals to system administrator. And then if I just confirm, of course, the user cannot be at the same time a project manager and the system administrator. So I need to change here to any filter or any of the filters are true, so that or the profile is project manager or the profile system administrator, then this action will be shown. And here, as you can see, there is this icon here, this orange icon, and that means that we have a filter on it, right? So basically, this is the first requirement. Let me just jump back to the presentation. And the second one is that the detail tab must have only project name, account, description, and project type. So what I need to do then is just take away the fields that are not relevant. For example, hourly rate, it's not relevant for the detail page. Project budgeted in hours, not relevant. Project budget, not. Total billable time, available hours in the project, project approved, not. Approval date, not. Approved by, not. So now I have project name, account, description, and project type. Is that correct? Project name, account, description, and project type. Correct. Perfect. So if I save now and I activate this page as org default, and I go back to my record, we can see now that the page is showing just the fields I want, even though the page layout has much more fields. And the button, before we had here delete and other buttons, but the project approval is being shown because now I'm logged as the system administrator. So this was the first part of the requirement. Any questions so far? No. So all good. So then moving on, we have also a requirement that we need a time tracks tab with a related list single. So this is not part of the dynamic forms. This feature is already there since a long time, but it's good to customize it in a nice way. So now we have the related tab that will be showing all the related information that we have in that object, in this case, in the project. And in this case, now we have only the time tracks here, but if you look here on the right side, the component is called related lists. That means that if someone goes to the page layout and includes another related list, it will be showing here automatically. But in this case, this is not what we want. So I will customize that, and I will rename the related list to a custom name. I'll call it time tracks. And in the time tracks tab, I will just remove this component related lists, and I will be including the related list single. Because here in the time tracks tab, we only want to see one related list, and this related list is the time tracks. Perfect. I'll just save for now, and let's check the next requirement. So project summary tab, it will be an accordion with two sections, one called budget and another one called totals. So let's do that. So coming back here to the tabs component, I will include one more tab, and now I'll call this called project summary, right? And then if I go to that tab, which is empty now, I'll select a component, which is the accordion component. In the accordion component, we will have two different sections. What is the name? Budget and totals. So the first one here, which is now called related, I'll change it to budget. And the second one, I'll call it totals. Okay, so now we have here the accordion, but inside the budget and inside the totals, as you can see, we don't have any component. And then looking the requirement here in the budget section, we want the hourly rate, the project budget in hours, and the project budget. So let's do that. So then it comes here to this field section we have now in the record and the lightning page. So first I need to move a field section, because I cannot just move the fields without having a field section component in it. So then I move the field section. And here I can define if I want one or two columns. In this case, I'll leave it. And now I'm able to move the fields I want. So I want the hourly rate. I want the project budget in hours. And I want the project budget, which I will place it in the right side. And then we can do the same for the totals. And I will move then again a field section here. And what are the fields? Total billable time and available hours. So we have here total billable time and available hours in the project. Right. So now we have the accordion. Inside the accordion, we have a field section with 3 fields. And in the totals, we have also a field section with 2 fields. What we can also customize here is the name of the section, the name of the field section. Here it's just called section, but I want to have no name there. So I can just remove it. So it will be like this: budget and the fields and totals. I also don't want any name, specific name here. So I'll just delete and leave it empty. Now, if we save and we go back to our record, we can see now the time track. We can see the detail page just with the most relevant fields we want, and also the project summary, which here we have the hourly rate, project budget in hours, and the project budget. This is a formula, and the totals as well. Okay, cool. Moving ahead, we have also a requirement that asks for the system information to be displayed in a separate tab as well. And we have the created by, last modified by, and the owner. So then we will repeat the process here for that one. So going back to edit the page. The first thing that I want here is to remove this accordion, because here in the detail page, now we have an accordion and we have this field section in here, and we have these additional fields which has the created by and the last modified by. And since we don't want that, I will click in this field section here and I will move it outside the accordion, and then I'll delete this accordion from the page. Yes, and now I'll create another tab, which I will name it System Information. And here in the System Information, I'll go to Fields, Field Section. I'll drag and drop the field section inside the tab, and then I'll put the fields that I want. Last modified by, created by, and the owner. Here is the owner, and that's it. So if I save and I go back to my record, now we have the System Information tab with just the fields we needed in here. I forgot to eliminate the section name here, but this is not a problem. Yeah, any question so far? Everyone is very quiet. I hope it's not getting bored during the session. Okay, that's fine. Then we can move ahead to the next requirements. So here is where the things will start to get interesting. So project management field section displayed on the top right with the fields project approved, which is a formula image, approval date, and approved by. So if we go again to edit this page, I go to field sections. I can place on the top right as it requested, and it's called project management, this section. And here I will include the project approved, which is a formula image. I will include the approved by, and I will include also the approval date. And even though these fields are updatable by the users, I would like that this section becomes read-only all fields. So here, when we click in a field, we have this section here on the right, and here we could set a visibility filter, but in this case, I want this to be visible to everyone, so I will not create a filter, but I want this information to be read-only. So if I click here, it will be read-only, this one as well. And this one, it's, as you can see, since this is a formula field, I cannot select, it's read-only by default, of course. So then if I save the record page and I go back to my project, so now as we can see, the project approved, it's red because the project is not yet approved. And as I'm logged in here as an admin, I have modified all permissions, and that's why I can edit those fields. But afterwards, we are going to log in as the project manager and the project consultant, and you will be able to see that these fields are not editable. When a project is approved, all fields in the Detail tab must become read-only. And only when the project is approved, the Time Tracks tab must be visible. So how we are going to achieve that? Let me show you. Going back to Edit page, we have this component here, which is one field section. In this field section, we have this component here, which are the tabs that we have. And I want to duplicate this one, because if I create here a filter, or if I put any field here as read-only, it will be always read-only. So what I need is to duplicate. So I'll do here Control-C, Control-V. So as you can see now, we have two separate tabs, tabs component. And in the first component, I will eliminate the time tracks. The time tracks will not be visible anymore. And in the second, and also in the first one, I will create a filter. And this tabs component will only be shown when the project is not approved. So what I'm going to do is I'll create a filter. And the field is project approved equals false. So when the project is not approved, this entire tab component will be shown. And as you can see, we have a filter. The orange mark is shown here just as an identifier. And for the second one, which has the time tracks tab, I will set a component visibility for the same field, project approved equals true. And now let's save it And let's look how it looks like. As you can see here, the time tracks tab is not being visible anymore. What I'm going to do is I will just approve this project. So when the project is approved, in this area here, I can see that my formula field is working. So it's green now, and it's recorded who is the approver and in which date it was approved. And since it's approved, the time tracks tab is there again. So, and since I am admin now, I can just unapprove this project. And since the project is not approved anymore, the time tracks tab is not there. So this gives us much more flexibility using out-of-the-box standard Salesforce functionality to provide a much better user experience for the Salesforce users. So just the right things will be shown during the right time. So this is the key point of the dynamic forms. Just going back to the presentation here, we have one more requirement that is saying that the actions delete and approve project is only visible for project managers. In the approve project, I already did it. So let's include the delete action. So I'll be going now to the edit page. I click on the highlight panel, and I would like to add one more action here, which is the delete. And I'll set the same visibility. Delete will be only available for the users who are project managers. So I'll select the profile and the name of the profile to create my filter. And then the operator equal project manager. But I also want to show the delete option for system administrators. So I go to user, profile, name, equal system administrator. And then I can save, and then I can go back to my record. Oh, I think I left without saving. My mistake. System administrator, project manager. Ah, I forgot a very key point here. A user cannot be project manager and system administrator at the same time. So that's why I need to change the filter to any filters are true. So either one or the other is true, then it will be showing the delete. So it's like an or here, or this or that, then show the delete action. Saving again and going back to my page. Yeah, so now I have project approval and the delete action. And that's very interesting because both profiles, project manager and project consultant, they have delete rights in the profile level. But I can control if they will be able to delete or not directly in the record page using filters. So even though they have access to delete via profile, I'm controlling on the record level, the record page level, that the delete will only be showing for administrators and project managers. Cool. So what are the drawbacks about having dynamic forms, in my opinion? Well, when you start using dynamic forms, it means that you can get rid of the page layouts, but not completely, because the related lists are always dependent on the page layout. So in this case here, we have the time track related list. And to define, let me just approve the project to show again the time tracks and get to the point. So I have here the time tracks, right? And I would like to create a new time track for this project. So I would say that the total billable time is 1 for today, and I save, right? So we have here some fields that are being shown in the related list, and this cannot be controlled in the record page level. So the fields and also the related lists available for me will be still controlled by the page layout. And when we go to create a new project, when I go here, create a new project, this page here is not anymore the page that it's defined in the page layout, but it will be showing here in different sections all the fields that we have in the page. And this is a huge disadvantage for me, because the standard page layout for creation was not showing all these fields that are formula fields, and it was just showing one single session with the fields that I need. So what I think that Salesforce should do in the near future would be, for example, keeping the page layout definition for the new record creation. And now, since we activate the dynamic forms, this page, the new page, when I'm creating a new project, it's not getting the fields from the page layout, but it's getting all the fields from the record page. And this now, it's much more complex to fill than it was before with a simple page layout. But for now, I have a strategy to overcome this page here that would be not allowing the users to create new projects from here, from the new button, but creating separate actions for them. For example, a global action. So if they want to create a project, they come here in the global action, new project, and then the global action will show just the 4 fields that are mandatory for a new project creation, which is much simpler. I can give a name, select the account, select the project type, a description which is optional, and save. So using global actions in this case will be much easier to create new projects. But it could be even simpler if I go to a specific account and I have an action there to create a project. So if I go to this account, Smith account, I have here a new project action as well. And in this action, I don't even need to select the account because I'm already in account context. So the system will know that this project is for the Smith account. I just need to select the type, for example, software. I can type a description of the project as optional. And when I save, this action is also giving a project name automatically for me based on the formula that I created. So the project name here is the company name, the account name, and the date. So yeah, we have some drawbacks that when we use the standard new creation, it will bring all the fields and sections that we used in the record page. But for now, we could use the global actions or the quick actions in the account to overcome it. And I would expect that Salesforce changes that in the near future, so we can define the new page creation based on the page layouts still. Since the related lists are still coming from the page layout, it would not harm to have it in the near future. Yeah. So this is the end of the small project, hands-on project that we did together. I don't know if someone has anything to share, any experience, past experience on that, or any question. Don't be shy. Just raise your question via chat or unmute yourself. No volunteers. So, okay. Just moving on then. The next section of my presentation here is the resources that I would recommend you to have a look. So you will be receiving this deck in the end of the session. So one of them is a trail mix called Be an Innovator. And this is really recommended because if you do this trail mix, you'll be able to download this slide deck here that it's provided by Salesforce, which is a very nice way to start to plan the pages that you'll be using in Salesforce. So you can name the page name, what are the profiles that we'll be using, in which kind of devices, which fields will be there. And more useful than that, you can create sketches to see how it would look like before changing the system. And here in the last the last page, you have all the components that you can use to sketch up the page that you are about to build. So this is very good if you are an internal admin trying to plan the layout of the pages, and as well if you are a Salesforce consultant like me, that I want to provide the client some visibility on how the page will look like. So this is the first one that you can use, this trail mix. Also, there is a Trailhead module called Lightning App Builder, which is a generic app builder Trailhead module, which is very interesting, very useful. And of course, we have the Summer 20 release notes, which is the first release notes that when this feature came in, which is the summer release, it was not generally available in the summer release, but it will be now generally available in the winter 2021, that it's being released. In some instances, it's already there, but for the most European instances, it will be on the 17th of October. And the last resource I have here to share, it's a managed package for project and time tracks. So if you want to do the same hands-on project that we just did together, you can, of course, not on your production environment, you can create a sandbox, or you can assign for a dev org from Salesforce, and then you could install this package, which will bring the project object, the time tracks project, the profiles, so everything that we had to be able to start this project and do that together. So this is it from my side. I just want to give another chance for you guys to raise any question or to share some experience. Don't be shy. Maybe Andre, as you are a colleague of mine as a Salesforce consultant, do you have any thing to share, any opinion on this feature? How do you see it? Yeah.
To be honest, I didn't look at that in detail, and that's why I'm participating on your webinar. And yeah, it looks great.
Okay, cool. I'm very happy to share this with everyone. And if no one else has any question or experience to share, then I would like to close the session. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending. If you have also any question, I will be sharing with you my email address. You can write me at any time, and I'll be happy to help you. Thank you very much, and have a good day. Bye.
Thank you, Daniel.